two ways.
Are there two?
The two of us, yeah.
Sorry. Stop.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you so much for joining us today, both here at BCIT and online. I would like to acknowledge that we are gathering on the unceded traditional territory of Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam peoples. My name is Wei Chan, Member of Parliament for Burnaby Central. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Zero Energy and Emission Building Learning Center, a fitting place to talk about climate leadership, innovation, and clean economy Canada's building. We are here today to mark an important step forward in Canada's fight against climate change, strengthening mission regulations to cut pollution, protect communities, and drive investment in clean energy and clean technology across the country. Methane is one of the most potent greenhouse gases, and reducing it is one of the most effective ways to lower emissions while supporting jobs and economic growth. Today's announcement shows how climate actions and economic competitiveness go hand in hand. It is now my honor to introduce Minister leading this important work, the Honorable Julie Dabrusin, Minister of Climate Change, Environment and Nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm really glad to be here in Vancouver today, and I would like to also begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And today, as we come together on these traditional lands, Canada's taking another important step on building a cleaner, healthier, and more competitive country for the future. This is a really exciting day for Canada. I want to begin also by letting you know some of the people who are standing behind me who are members of my caucus who have played important roles in making sure that we continue on the fight for climate change or against climate change. And that would be MP Wade Chang, who you just heard from, my Parliamentary Secretary, Environment, Climate Change and Nature, Parliamentary Secretary Wade Grant, and MP Ron McKinnon. All right, so this fall we introduced the Climate Competitiveness Strategy, and that brought forward measures to drive down emissions and build a strong economy. The Climate Competitiveness Strategy includes measures like strengthened industrial carbon pricing, a $90 billion set of money going towards investment tax credits to drive clean growth, support for clean critical minerals projects, mobilizing capital for the transition to net zero, and positioning our industry in our country to compete and to win.
Hey, Frederick, we see you out
Importantly, it also included a commitment to move forward on enhanced methane regulations. So today, I'm pleased to be following through on that very commitment just a few short weeks later. I'm proud to announce the final enhanced oil and gas methane regulations and landfill methane regulations. These two measures will drive down emissions from two of the largest sources of methane in Canada. This announcement is about building the strong economy of the future, one that is cleaner, more competitive, and more resilient. Methane is one of the most potent, dangerous drivers of climate change, but it's also one of the fastest and most cost-effective opportunities to cut emissions while creating jobs and growing our economy. And frankly, I can't think of a better place to be making an announcement like this than being here at BCIT, where we're here with people who are actually showing the skills and know-how and innovation to do this kind of work. By tightening methane rules, we are driving innovation, supporting Canadian companies that develop leak detection, monitoring, and clean tech solutions that are in demand around the world. Clear, predictable regulations give industry certainty, attract investment, and ensure Canadian energy remains competitive in a world that is moving towards lower carbon production. This is real climate action that works for workers, communities, and Canada's long-term economic prosperity. These new enhanced oil and gas regulations are designed to significantly cut methane emissions by over 304 megatons from 2028 to 2040, while giving operators flexibility in how they comply. Companies have two choices. They can follow a clear set of actions to stop intentional venting of emissions and fix leaks, Or they can choose a performance-based pathway that uses continuous monitoring and allows them to design their own solutions as long as they meet strong performance standards. Cette approche protège l'environnement et soutient un secteur énergétique compétitif. Elle contribue à réduire l'intensité des émissions et ouvre les portes à des marchés qui exigent de plus en plus des produits à faible émission. It also encourages the use and development of advanced methane detection technologies, areas where Canadian companies are already global leaders. In fact, just yesterday, I saw at the University of Calgary a robot that was developed to detect methane leaks and that has wonderful domestic and export opportunities for it. That's why today we're also investing nearly $16 million through Natural Resources Canada Energy Innovation Program to support 9 methane detection and measurement projects across Canada. These projects bring together Canadian universities, federal laboratories, clean tech companies, and industry to demonstrate global leadership in detecting, measuring, and reducing methane emissions. They will strengthen how methane is identified and quantified, lower compliance costs for industry, and help operators meet enhanced methane regulations more efficiently. Most importantly, they will keep Canada at the forefront of global methane innovation, driving solutions that can be deployed at home and exported abroad. We know that strong collaboration with provinces is essential to delivering this work and ensuring its success. To fight climate change and grow our economy, we must do it together. We have a strong track record through equivalency agreements in British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, and we look forward to building on that collaboration, including with Alberta under our recent Memorandum of Understanding. Our goal is clear: fighting climate change in a way that is unifying and credible and that builds a strong and clean economy for the future. Now, I'd like to talk for a moment about landfills, because landfills account for 17% of Canada's methane emissions, and those emissions have not gone down for more than a decade. The new regulations will change that. Elle exige que les sites d'enfouissement limitent les rejets de méthane et effectuent une surveillance régulière afin de détecter et de réparer les fuites à la surface de la décharge et dans les équipements installés pour contrôler les émissions. Ces règles s'appliqueront progressivement à partir de 2028, ce qui laisserait aux opérateurs le temps de planifier et d'installer les infrastructures dont ils en ont besoin. Pour soutenir ces travaux, les municipalités qui possèdent des sites d'enfouissement réglementés ont accès à un financement fédéral grâce au Fonds pour bâtir les collectivités fortes annoncé dans le budget 2025. The landfill regulations will cut 100 megatons of emissions between 2026 and 2040. Today is about delivering real benefits for Canadians and for our economic future. Cutting methane supports innovation, drives investment, showcases Canada's global leadership in technology, and creates jobs, from engineers and technicians to Canadian firms leading in detection and abatement technologies. It also means cleaner air for our communities, less smog-forming pollution, better health outcomes, and a stronger future. It's about acting decisively, responsibly, and in partnership with provinces, industry, municipalities, and communities across the country. Together, these 2 regulations will contribute significantly to Canada's climate targets while contributing to economic competitiveness. It's about effective climate leadership and good economic leadership. Thank you, merci, and I will be now passing it to Jennifer Figner, the VP Academic here at BCIT, who will get to talk to you a bit about the opportunities that we have for jobs and innovation right here.
Before Remy was here,
I'm finally managing my own team.
he was at an exclusive network.
An agreement with Alberta would look like, or any of the provinces, on the regulations, and then what are all the other measures that get us still to 75% by 2030? They're not opposed to one another, right? There's a regulation, and then there's the other measures. So they can still fit together to get to our objectives.
So what are those other measures, and can we afford to dilly-dally when you yourself said that that methane is one of the most potent greenhouse gases?
I will actually push back on the idea that today
Sorry,
is
we're
about
gonna-
dilly-dallying. In fact, I'm really excited about today because today is actually where we put into action regulations that are going to reduce the methane emissions in our country. It is one of the most important things that we can do and one of the most cost-effective things that we can do. As I mentioned, the way that the regulations are anticipated to work, the percentages aren't right in the regulation, but when we do the calculations, the way the regulations will work, they will get nationally the country to about 72% reduction of emissions by 2030, and other measures will carry us to the remaining 75% by 2030. So if we have an equivalency agreement with a province that says that on the regulation, they're going to get to 75% by 2035, that doesn't deviate from where the regulation is, which is already anticipating about 72% by 2030. But then we have to have all of the other measures that I'm talking about. And a lot of those are going to be based on technology and how do we actually use a lot of great Canadian technology that's being developed, for example. How do we make the investments and how do we catalyze the investments to get to the extra emissions by 2030? They do line up together. So I just want to be clear, like there's a regulation and the percentages in the regulation, and then are the other measures. Together, they actually do make massive reductions in our emissions. I mean, I think if you think of the number when we were talking about from oil and gas, 304 megatons between 2028 and 2040 is a massive reduction. We look at the landfill regulations that I know people are not necessarily as excited about, but we should be excited about landfill regulations. That is another, I'm going to get the number perhaps slightly off, but it's about 100, it's over 100, I believe, but I'd say 100 megatons of emissions reductions in the same timeline. That is a massive step forward in what our country needs to do. And like I said, it's in a way that's cost effective, and that actually Canada has the technologies that we're developing right here that we can sell to the outside world. It makes us a more competitive economy.
All right, we're going to forego the question and answer session. I hope you'll leave your comments and even suggestions of what you'd like to see us do. We'll be back. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.